Hello everybody, it's EzraTime again here. Welcome back to another reaction videos. And today we're gonna be reacting to the game theory FNaF video once again. This is called Golden Freddy Never Existed. Apparently, I have no idea what the hell is going on. Again, FNaF theory or like FNaF story right now is completely out of my hand. All right, and I think for many people as well. And the funny thing is about game theory is that every single thumbnail that they post always feature Golden Freddy, right? Always, And then this one they say Golden Freddy never existed. So I have no idea what Mappat meant by this. So without further ado, let's just watch the video to find out, shall we?
What if I told you that everything we thought we knew about FNaF was a lie? That Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy were never possessed? That the bite of 87 never happened? Heck, that the bite of 83 never happened? What if I told you that William Afton didn't die because some spirits harassed him in a back room, but because he got careless and wet? What if I told you that Golden Freddy never existed? You would all think that I was crazy, right? That after 60 episodes covering this series that I'd finally lost it, or gotten so desperate that I needed you to throw it all away and start again for content. But I assure you, I'm still here. Totally sane, or I guess as sane as I've ever been, and totally suspecting that some, maybe even all of the statements that I just made are 100% true. So open your ears and listen to what I have to say, because once I'm done, none of us will look at this franchise the same way again. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where... Am I the only one that hears that weird humming sound? I think it's coming from the subscribe button. Can you help me smash it? Oh, thank goodness. That was driving me insane.
Subscribe, guys.
What's the small disc that fell out? Yep, probably not important. Today is a big day as far as FNaF theory goes. Usually I'm here picking apart details from the newest book, or trying to solve one very specific part of the franchise's history, or reminding you that robot kids do in fact exist and Gregory is one of them. But this episode has a wider scope. It's bigger. It touches literally everything released in the franchise thus far. I don't know if I agree with today's theory or not. I don't even know if I like today's theory or not. Scratch that. I do know. Kinda hate it, and what it means for the franchise. But regardless of whether you agree or disagree, love it or hate it, I am asking you to keep an open mind about it, because this one feels important. And the implications of it, if true, would certainly result in the biggest shakeup for the series since the conclusion of FNaF 6. Today, I'm asking you to take everything that you thought you knew about FNaF 1, 2, 3, and 4. Possessed animatronics, the crying child, the missing children's incident, the entire existence of Golden Freddy. Take all of that and burn it to the ground. Maybe not burn it. We've seen that that tends not to work. Take it all and put it through a paper shredder or something, will ya? Because none of it matters. None of it. It's all wrong. Or maybe it isn't. But before I explain why, I have to tell you that brand new holiday theory wear is available right now. And while I might not be the hugest fan of the implications of today's theory, I am the hugest fan of the merch that we've got lined up for you.
It here, I think.
Better do it quick before I decide to retcon it all out of existence. Speaking of retconning, back in 2019, we got the release of Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, otherwise known as FNaF VR, a game that, to this day, ranks as my third favorite from the franchise. On one hand, it was looking forward to the next phase of the series by introducing a new villain, Glitch Trap, but it also had its feet firmly planted in the past, a culmination of everything that had come before in a very literal way, by collecting the first 3 games and turning them into VR experiences. It really felt like an inflection point for the series, a transition from the old story of a serial killer in a haunted pizzeria to the new stories it had yet to tell about the killer living on through technology. But buried in the game were some lines that made everyone stop and go, huh? Right at the top, we got this moment.
We know that Fazbear Entertainment has developed something of a bad reputation, and while it's true that some stories associated with our name were loosely based on actual events, the majority of them were total fabrications from the mind of a complete lunatic. Lawsuits pending.
With the lunatic shown on screen being, of course, a picture of Scott Cawthon himself. It felt like good meme fodder, a funny meta joke that also poked fun at Fazbear Entertainment papering over their bloody history. But then the game chose to double down. In one of the game's hidden lore tapes, we learned more about this lunatic spreading lies about the Fazbear restaurants.
They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer. But that's not true at all. Fazbear Entertainment hired the game developer. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. It's an elaborate cover-up.
It was weird. It seemed like FNAF VR was actively throwing into question everything we thought we knew about the franchise's lore. At the time, I went on the record to say this: if FNAF VR's tapes are to be believed, pretty much everything we know could all be thrown out as complete fabrications. The long story short here is that FNAF VR, in making Scott part of the Fazbear cover-up, is the franchise's way of rebooting the story. It's explicitly telling us that everything we've known up to this point is wrong. It's a distraction. And that's largely where the community left it. It was a bit of a weird call for the series to disregard everything that had come before, but honestly, it would have been fine. Here's the old original story arc with the first 6 games, and here's the new one moving forward. 2 separate story arcs told within the same universe. Fine. Until Security Breach came out. Suddenly, Springtrap was a key player again, and we were exploring the burned remains of the FNAF 6 location. And the idea of the first 6 games being the crazed ramblings of a hired lunatic were largely forgotten as we were thrust yet again back into the story of the Aftons. Business as usual, only this time, there was Music Man! So that was pretty much the status quo for the past year. But then, in late September, the unthinkable happened. We got another book. I know, I said the B word. I'm sorry, but stick with me, this one's different. You see, this one delivers on the hope that we've had for the books from the very beginning, that they would take small moments from the games and expand upon them to bring more clarity. Care to guess what moment from the games they chose to expand upon? The story of a rogue indie developer hired by Fazbear Entertainment to create a series of games covering up the company's shady past. And if there was any lingering doubt as to how this story fit into the games, the title was none other than Help Wanted. I'm about to summarize what exactly happens in the story, but the TLDR of it is exactly what we predicted back in 2019, that everything you thought you knew about the franchise is dead, just not exactly in the way that we thought, and it suddenly changes everything about how we should be approaching this franchise moving forward. In the story, we follow a character named Steve, an indie game developer stuck in a dead-end job while working on a, quote, fetch quest-based game featuring cartoony chipmunks. Now, what could that be a reference to, Scott? Just like we hear about in FNAF VR, Steve is contacted by Fazbear Entertainment to create a series of games in order to help rebrand the company. At first, he turns down the offer. Not the company to take no for an answer, Fazbear then sets up an elaborate plot where they catfish Steve into a date with the woman of his dreams. During the date, he passes out, only to wake up and find that suddenly he's married to the woman and suffering from severe memory loss. This happens a few more times, waking up to discover that he now has children, or that the house he lives in is being foreclosed. Suddenly, in desperate need of money, he contacts Fazbear Entertainment and starts making games for him. 4 games, to be specific. All the while, a constant ringing is happening in his ears. Bit by bit, he becomes more sleep-deprived and paranoid, which then feeds into his games. At night, he's haunted by night terrors, horrific monsters that keep popping out of the walls, which only pushes him to work harder. And throughout it all, the ringing continues to build, rotting his brain. Eventually, Steve discovers what's going on. The high-pitched sound that he keeps hearing has been creating illusions used to gaslight him. His house, just a series of blank rooms. The night terrors, amusement park jump scares coming out of the walls. His beautiful family, robots with plastic faces and wheels. Their physical description actually sounds a lot like the staff bots. Steve is then given a choice of going back to the miserable real world or returning to the happiness that he felt inside the illusion. He chooses the illusion, giving his robot wife a hug, who then stabs him to death. Also there's a DJ on the radio called DJ Dan, the Music Man. It's not important to the lore, it's just for the memes. It is a super sad story. It's also in no way a tale from the Pizzaplex, considering the place isn't mentioned once. But more than anything else, it's a story that confirms some of our greatest fears about the franchise. First and foremost, illusion discs are now officially a thing in the games. If you don't know what illusion discs are, then good for you. You clearly avoided reading the novels. I, however, not so lucky. Basically, these things use high-pitched noises to trick the human mind into creating intensely real illusions of things that aren't really there. A robot appears exactly like a human. A pizzeria is more decorated than it actually is. Characters turn practically invisible on camera. These are all ways that they've been used in the books, but up until this point, we've never had a reason to believe that they were in the game universe. The only time that I've suspected that they might be a thing in the games is this scene from Sister Location, when we remove a random flashing disc from Funtime Freddy's chest. It was just speculation at the time, but now, going back, listen to that scene.
The chest cavity should now be open. Remove the power module from the chest cavity. Great work.
You hear it? The buzzing? That humming is only present in scenes where we're directly interacting with an animatronic in close proximity. Just saying, there might have been more evidence to suggest that these things were actually in the games earlier than we thought, but hindsight's 2020. With this new story, we know it's valid technology, and that has huge implications for things that we see throughout Security Breach, like when we hear high-pitched ringing and have distorted vision anytime Vanny runs past us.
Oh man.
Why Glamrock Freddy apparently can't see Vanny until he gets Roxy's eyes. It's all much more likely now because she's using illusion discs. It may also play into the mystery of who Patient 46 is. In Retro CD number 15, we hear this clip.
I have this still shot the techs pulled from the security footage that recorded you in the Pizzaplex. That's you, isn't it? I know this image is distorted, but I think it looks like you. You're talking to someone. Or something. They almost look like rabbit ears.
One of the consistent features of the illusion discs is that they distort or blur any images that appear on camera. We see this all throughout the fourth closet, so the fact that the still image and the distortion are directly being called out here in the CDs indicate that Patient 46 may also be hiding behind an illusion disc. Who knows, if my guess was right and Gregory is meant to be Patient 46, that could be why he's appearing all blurry here in the camera shots from the DLC poster. Admittedly, that opens up its own can of worms and contradictions that would merit their own discussion. Like, why would he be clearing all these other pictures? I'm just tossing it out as something for us to chew on. Much more importantly, though, the Help Wanted story confirms that FNaF 1, 2, 3, and 4 are canonically video games within Freddy's fictional universe. They were created by a hired gun. A hired gun who, in the story, is confirmed to not be familiar with the events that happened at Freddy's. Quote from the story, "It took a few seconds for the name Fazbear to ring a bell, but then Steve remembered the kids' pizza places that once had been wildly popular, but had suffered a downfall after a variety of criminal allegations. There had been talk of murders, though Steve didn't remember how many. There was weirder stuff too, stories about paranormal events and that kind of nonsense. Steve doesn't actually know the stories and events that took place. He doesn't remember how many kids died. He doesn't believe in paranormal activity. He is an unreliable narrator, which therefore puts everything in those first 4 games into question. He knew rumors of paranormal activity, so he created possessed animatronics. He knew about murders, so he put in minigames depicting kids being murdered. As for the facts though, he cannot be trusted. And the story tries to make it crystal clear that FNaF 4 was largely of his own creation, born out of the torture that Fazbear was subjecting him to. As his hallucinations get more nightmarish, Steve starts seeing monsters literally appear out of the walls. One of them is described as follows, quote, "It was the head of something. It was small but bulbous and vain, its large eyes almond-shaped with cat-like pupils. It lunged forward from the hole in the wall and parted its jaws to reveal a mouthful of sharp-looking teeth. Its pointed tongue darted out like a snake's when it sniffed the air." This moment isn't just to show us Steve's torture, it's to show us the influence that it has on the games that he's making. Look at the description. Does it remind you of anything? A character with cat-like eyes, a long pointed tongue, sharp teeth, who likes to pop out unexpectedly. It's Nightmare Foxy from FNaF 4. Look at this picture from the teasers leading up into the game, especially the long pointed tongue. Who else pops out from the closet, from under the bed, from behind a TV in that game? Foxy. The book is spelling out for us why that game is so different, why it's no longer a game about Fazbear Pizzeria. The torture became so much that the story had shifted from being a Fazbear story to being a Steve story. 4 games, 1 story. It's the clue that Scott gave us a long time ago during a live stream after the release of FNaF 4. At first, I suspected the line was all about dream theory, that all of it was happening in the nightmares of a child, and I think that one was right. Then it shifted to the 4 games being about one family, the Aftons, as their kids grappled with the sins of their father, and I think that was also right. But now it's changed once again. It's now 4 games about one new story, Steve's story. The story of a game designer that was being gaslit by an evil robotics company. You know, I gotta hand it to Scott. It's actually impressive how many times he's been able to make that single phrase describe the same set of 4 games. It also means that Scott gets to have his cake and eat it too. He gets to make those first 4 games the equivalent of dream theory without it actually being a dream. Oh, was the puppet referred to as a he in FNaF 2? Steve didn't know. Were there 5 victims? 10? 15 in that first set of pizzerias? Don't know. Steve's just making his best guess. But most importantly of all, it means that anything that doesn't physically appear in or after Sister Location and beyond is suddenly cast into doubt. And when you think about it, that includes some major parts of the lore. For instance, we know that Michael Afton is in fact a security guard for Fazbear Entertainment at some point thanks to the security logbook. Plus, with Sister Location in FNaF 6, we know that he ends up getting scooped and dying in a fire. Sister Location also proves the existence of Elizabeth Afton and how she got scooped by Baby. But the third Afton kid, Crying Child, he's never been mentioned in any other game other than FNaF 4. I've made theories suggesting that he's the other spirit communicating with Cassidy in the survival logbook, but you know, that's just speculation because I assume that he existed. In FNaF 6's Midnight Motorist, there's reason to believe that he's the one who broke out of the house, considering that Mike in the chair says he's had a hard night, but again, that is pretty weak evidence. Honestly, the closest we get to having physical evidence of his existence is in Security Breach's post-it room, where there's a dinner scene made up of 5 staff bots that appear to be simulating the Afton family, and one of those 5 is missing its head, which we've assumed represents the crying child getting chomped. But all of that evidence only stands because the crying child was thought to exist thanks to the first 4 games. Maybe that's why we've never actually gotten a name for him, because he was never meant to exist in the first place, and so Scott purposefully hid the name in order to allow the 5th Afton child's identity to remain anonymous, ready for a big plot twist when it turns out that he has another child, maybe a daughter, maybe called Vanessa. It's speculative as all heck, I'm just throwing it out there as a consideration. Henry and Charlie are definitely in this universe. We see Charlie's death and possession of the puppet thanks to the minigames in FNaF 6, so that's all confirmed. But the missing children's incident where 5 kids were murdered at the FNaF 1 location? Unclear. It's likely that it happened, considering that in FNaF 6's Lorekeeper ending, we see 5 gravestones with one on a hill, the 5 missing children's incident victims plus Charlie, the 6 victims of William Afton. It's the same thing with Princess Quest. To move forward in the Princess Quest minigame, you have to light 6 gravestones. So it seems like those 5 murders happened, but then what about the extra 5 dead bodies that we see appearing throughout the FNaF 2 pizzeria? What about hearing that the pizzeria is getting closed down in the tapes? Even less clear. FNaF VR's main ending proves that William Afton is still the main killer in this universe, and that he definitely stuffed kids into the animatronics. However, whether those kids go on to possess the animatronics is up for debate. Without the first 4 games being officially canon, we don't really have any evidence for their possession. But perhaps the biggest ripple effect of them all, this new understanding of the canonicity heavily suggests that Golden Freddy may never have existed. That's right, my favorite clickbait yellow boy may not actually be a thing in this franchise at all. Consider this, Golden Freddy, while seemingly this super important piece of the lore to the franchise, hasn't shown up in a major way in any recent titles. He's only ever shown up in titles with questionable canonicity, like FNaF World, which is definitely not canon, Custom Night, which is Afton's personal hell, and FNaF AR, which isn't really canon. And if you think it is, then both Shamrock Freddy and Chocolate Bonnie are canon, and I refuse to live in a world where that could possibly be true. But in the main games, nothing. In Sister Location, his name is used in a Custom Night challenge. In FNaF 6, completely absent. And in Security Breach, sure, there's a golden Glamrock Freddy that you can collect, but there's a golden toy of every character that you can collect. In fact, I think Security Breach was outright trying to tell us that Golden Freddy has never been a thing. Of the dozens of collectibles that you can find throughout the game, plushies, figurines, keychains, sweaters, 4 of them actually seemed important. 3 posters from Fredbear's Family Diner, and an even older one from Fredbear's Singin' Show. The Singin' Show is, I don't know man, it makes it look like the next game is gonna be a crossover with Bendy and the Ink Machine. But the Fredbear's Family Diner ones are the ones that I want to focus on now. Look at these things. One of them has the golden Bonnie with a purple bow tie, just like you'd expect. But the other 2 show us a brown bear with a black hat and a black bow tie. And you see, that is a huge detail. Up until this point, we've been under the impression that there were only 2 mascots at Fredbear's Family Diner, Golden Bonnie and Golden Freddy. In FNaF 3, we see a Golden Bonnie and Golden Freddy performing together on stage. Similarly, in FNaF 4, we see Golden Bonnie and Golden Freddy again. It was always those 2 together, with other characters like Foxy and Chica not showing up until later. So why then in Security Breach would they show us regular Freddy as the one on the Fredbear posters? Unless he is Fredbear. It's everything that we've been talking about today. Our evidence for Golden Freddy is all founded upon the original 4 FNaF titles, games made by a guy whose brain was slowly turning to mush. But when you actually stop and look for the physical evidence of who Fredbear was in the games that are still considered to be canon, all we get is a brown bear. Golden Freddy was never real. He never existed. I know, it seems wild, but it actually helps answer a lot of questions that we've had about Golden Freddy throughout this franchise. First off, his wildly inconsistent appearance. In both FNaF 1 and 2, he appears gold with a black hat and bow tie, but in the FNaF 2 minigame showing Charlie being killed outside Fredbear's Family Diner, the Freddy we play as is brown with a black hat, more similar to the Fredbear that we see in the posters for Security Breach. In the FNaF 3 minigame that apparently shows us Fredbear's Family Diner, he goes back to being gold with a black hat. hat. But then in FNAF 4's minigame, he's shown to be gold with a purple hat and bow tie. His appearance has never remained consistent, which could make sense if these are games being made by a guy who's under extreme duress. If Golden Freddy isn't around, then who could have done the bite of 83? Well, it could be that never happened. We've never seen a gravestone for Crying Child after all. If Golden Freddy doesn't exist, then where does Cassidy's soul reside? Well, again, we still don't have any proof that the original missing children actually possessed any animatronics. All their souls may have just moved on or been immediately converted into remnants. Cassidy only really appears in Ultimate Custom Night, so either their spirit is attached to Afton's like Andrew's is in the Fazbear Fright series, or it's just William torturing himself over the memory of this one child that he murdered in cold blood. Long story short, I still haven't fully worked out the ramifications of all this, and I'd love your help working through it because this revelation about the first 4 games being games demands a whole new way of looking at the series. The ripple effects of this revelation are huge and casts even more doubt into stuff that we thought that we knew about the games. I mean, with all the new books and games and revelations that we've had since the release of Security Breach, I've been meaning to do a state of the lore video for a while, just to make sure that we're all operating on the same page of what is true and what isn't true. Because at this point, it's hard for even me to keep track of what we've proved, what's only speculation, all of that. And after episodes like today, that sort of video feels more important than ever. So keep an eye out for that one in the next couple of weeks, which means that I'm back to researching FNAF from square one. And I thought we were done with the scary season. But hey, at least while I'm pulling my hair out, I can look good doing it thanks to my new Game Theory merch, which, just as one final reminder, is linked down in the description of this video. So grab yourself a jacket. I guess I'll see you all next week, unless I decide to stay under here forever. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. And hey, if you want to go back to a time when we thought we knew the ins and outs of this franchise, click here to watch our
Alright guys, so man. Again, yeah, I don't know what I think about this theory. I don't think I like this theory that much, you know, that Golden Freddy never existed, you know, and then the bite of 83 never happened, you know, and it's weird, you know, because when you listen to the theory, it kind of makes sense, you know, but I feel like it felt like an easy way out, you know, if you know what I mean, like kind of like building up something that there is a mystery, you know, there is an answer, you know, that everything has an answer, and then suddenly they're like, no, it was all fake, it was made by one crazy guy, you know. That to me objectively felt like an easy way out for the developers, or to Scott or to Steve to just like immediately discard everything and then like starting something new that actually makes sense or something like that. But it's just like, yeah, that's why I don't really like that idea. I think my Pat even mentioned in the beginning that he doesn't really like this idea as well, because again, it's just like you build this mystery, you might as well give an answer or like tease it more, right? Especially with Golden Freddy, because I thought that, well, he keeps changing, but it's like, I don't know, I always saw him as a really like bigger like supernatural entity, you know, like there is a theory that he or she has 2 souls in the Golden Freddy's body, you know, and his appearance just keep changing to me, just like, I don't know, for me, just like because he was like a highly supernatural creature, that's why he keeps changing, and that's why he keeps disappearing, like he's an actual ghost and that haunted the pizzeria or something like that, you know, and like a really high, you know, like, I don't know, like really strong animatronics basically, or like a strong spirits, you know, and that's why you don't like, that's why his appearance was like, you know, inconsistent and stuff like that. That makes sense for me, you know. So that's why I don't like the idea of like having him being fake, you know. I feel like because, you know, he is like a sorry. He is a big character in the FNAF franchise, right? And then the, you know, one of the most popular animatronics, you know, along with the 4 original gang, obviously. So I feel like just getting rid of him like that and then just saying that it's fake, you know, it doesn't make sense or something like that. It just like, I don't know, felt really lazy to me. So hopefully that's not the case. Same thing with the Crying Child, you know, because I'm, again, after FNAF 4, FNAF 4 is the start where FNAF lore is getting super ridiculous and like super like, you know, like it's not fun anymore to discover the answer, you know. And even Method right now is just like kind of giving up on the FNAF lore, which is like, yeah, it's getting more confusing. Like it jumps like multiple sharks at this point, and that's why I'm hoping that they kind of, I don't know, focus more on like a one storyline and then like try to answer the storyline perfectly instead of just like building more, because I think that's gonna be more ridiculous, you know. And I think like a lot of people just like kind of like tuning out right at this point from the FNAF theory, you know. Even though yes, I'm watching this one right now, so I can like, I guess, kind of keep up with it. But at the same time, again, I don't know what the hell is going on. You know, even MathPad just like have no idea what the hell is going on at this point. And but I'm really hoping that this theory doesn't true. You know, hopefully Golden Freddy is still a real character that we can explore. The Crying Child is another yet character that we can explore in the future. Hopefully that's the case, you know, and hopefully the first 4 game is still canon because again, it holds a special place in my heart for everybody's heart as well. We remember discovering the theory back in the day when FNaF 1 to 3, which is the theory is still fun to answer, right? And then FNaF 4 came and then completely mess it up, you know. um, so that's why I'm hoping that it's gonna be canon, you know, because I feel like it's a good, I don't know, story, I guess, you know. And I always interpret the help wanted line where, you know, like it's a fabrication from the a mind of a lunatic or something like that, you know, because I feel like the actual event happens and then they decide to capitalize on the event by making the video game. You know, that's what I always interpret, you know, and then it's not like the whole thing is fake, but it's rather just like, well, it actually happened, but like the game kind of like you know, like capitalize on that or like I guess Fazbear Entertainment is the one that capitalized on the situation, you know, like make it like popular franchise or something like that, right? But the real story is still happening. That's at least that's what I think was going on, you know, until like the new book came out and then kind of giving like a backstory, like yeah, this all of this could be an illusion, it could be a fake, you know. Hopefully not, because that would suck. Despite the fact that I don't really this here's the thing, like I feel like the original 4 or like the original 3 storyline, I'm hoping that that's not getting erased because it like it's the best of the FNAF story so far, you know. And then after FNAF 4 moving forward, like yeah, there is some good elements with the Afton family and stuff like that, but it's just like it's getting super ridiculous, and I don't really want to follow this super ridiculous story. To be honest, I'd rather just having them maybe having this new theory being fake and then the old one is actually the canon one. To be honest, I'd rather have them doing that because it's way better back in the day, right? But yeah, that's just my opinions. Again, you guys are allowed to disagree, of course, and I'm gonna leave the question to you guys. You know, what do you guys think about this theory right here that Golden Freddy never existed? You know, the first 4 game never canon. It's all like fake. You know, something. Do you guys like that theory? Because I don't like it. MathPad doesn't like it. You know, but if you like it, then you guys can tell me your reason for it. If you don't like it, then well, I guess we have the same opinion, right? And yeah, if you guys want to watch the original video, then I will leave a link in the description below as always. Make sure to guys check Game Theory's channel. I will leave the channel's link in the description below as always. Subscribe to him. Subscribe to MathPad and then show some support. And yeah, we'll see where FNAF is gonna be going right now. Because I think MathPad is going to like redo the entire story again with this mindset, which is wow. Okay. I guess it's a good way to revisit the first FNAF 4 game, but it's probably not in a good way because knowing that they could be fake, they could be not canon, and it sucks. But this is my opinion. Either way, if you guys enjoyed this video, then leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, the usual stuff. You know, become a member for the channel if you want to, you know, to support me even further. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos in the future, guys. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.